What's good, y'all? Welcome back to episode 2 of Welcome to the New Vibe. If you're new here, this isn't just a series, this is a space where we talk through life in real time, you know what I mean? Where growth isn't scripted, it's experience, but we don't act like we have it all figured out. We just move, honestly, you know what I mean? And today's episode, this one is actually personal because something happened at my job this past week, that really bothered me. You know what I mean? No, it didn't bother me out loud. It wasn't too dramatic, but deep enough to make me think differently. You know what I mean? So let me tell you what happened. For those who don't know, I work a city job. Structured, policies, rules, schedules locked in, you know what I mean? And normally I handle it, you know what I mean? I show up, I do what I gotta do, you know what I mean? But this week, I tried to move smart, you know what I mean? I looked at my schedule and I said, okay, if I do 2 doubles and I use my comp time for 1 day, that lines me up for 5 days off. 5 days. And I ain't do it for, vacation, you know what I mean? I ain't do it because I felt lazy or anything like that, I just needed the 5 days to reset, 5 days to breathe, 5 days to focus on building something that belongs to me. I already saw in my head, clear mind, creative energy, the momentum. Like I was really looking forward to, those days off. And I'm gonna tell you why in a minute. But here's the part that makes it interesting. For the past 2 weeks, I've been doing switches with this same person. It wasn't no issue. You know what I mean? It wasn't no conflicts or anything like that. Part-timers at my job have done doubles plenty of times. And as long as they didn't go over their 32 hours, they always been, everything always been good. You know what I mean? So I go on and do the switch. And now I get a email back from management telling me part-timers can't do doubles. And I just paused. You know what I mean? I just paused because now it's not just about a rule. Now it feels, inconsistent. Because if something was fine for weeks, if it's been happening for a while, why is it suddenly part-timers can no longer do doubles? You know what I mean? And in that moment, I was disappointed, but I didn't get mad. You feel me? I didn't get mad. It was more like of awareness, because I realized something that hit deeper than the schedule alone. My time can be redirected at any moment. Just like that. No warnings, no discussions. Now, instead of my 5 days to reset, they basically saying, you need to come to work every single day. And that's when it clicked, that's when it clicked. You know what I mean? Because it's not about, doubles or any of that other stuff. You know what I mean? I felt like this was about control. It's about how easy it is to design your week in your head, only to realize you don't fully control it. And I know I'm not the only one who felt that. You know what I mean? You don't hate your job. You're just tired of your time feeling like it's not yours. You know what I mean? And you stay disciplined. You know what I mean? You always disciplined. You stay respectful. You try to move strategically. And still, your time can shift with just one sentence. And time is not small. You feel what I'm saying? That's not something people should take lightly. You feel me? Time is peace. With your time, you can start forming ideas. You can start healing. You can grow. You feel me? Time can just help you grow. And when you don't have that space, you know what I mean? It's hard for you to build. You know what I mean? And instead of you having that time and using it to build, you start being controlled and it start feeling like you doing this just to survive. You know what I mean? And this week made me ask myself something real. How long do I want to negotiate for breathing room? How long do I want to reset my days to depend on permission? And I mean, how long do I want to build my dreams with leftover hours? You know what I'm saying? And let me make this clear. You know what I mean? I'm not ungrateful. You feel me? I'm grateful to have a job. You know what I mean? But gratitude doesn't mean you ignore growth. And sometimes discomfort is just clarity in disguise, if you get what I'm saying. Maybe I didn't get the 5 days off, but I got something more powerful. I got awareness. Awareness that I value my time more than ever. Awareness that inconsistency shows you what you're ready to outgrow. Awareness that frustration can either make you bitter or it can make you build differently. And honestly, I choose to build differently because once you realize your time can be played with, you start protecting it. You start planning bigger. You start thinking long term. And maybe this wasn't a setback. Maybe it was a reminder that I don't just want to work. You know, I want control. I don't just want income. I want ownership of my schedule. You know what I mean? And if you ever felt that quiet frustration, that moment where something small woke something up inside of you, you know, don't ignore that. And I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking, because everything I'm saying is really coming off the heart. So, you know, just bear with me, you know what I mean? But don't ignore that. You feel me? That's growth knocking. That's evolution tapping on your shoulder. And the moment you start valuing your time like it's precious, your life starts shifting directions. You know, I work a city job and I respect it. But I respect my time way more. This week, you know, it didn't give me the 5 days off, but it did give me vision. Because one day, I won't have to ask permission to design my own week. And when that day comes, I'll look back at this moment and I'ma smile, because this wasn't frustration. This was fuel. You know what I mean? This was fuel. But I just had to get that off my chest. If you still here, I appreciate you. Again, I go by the name of Stash Cash, and if you didn't do so already, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And you know, this is episode 2 of Welcome to the New Vibe. You know what I mean? This is a podcast where I'ma just come on this screen and I'ma just chop it up with my people, talk to my people. You know what I mean? Let y'all know that as good as it may seem, you know what I mean? Everybody go through things, you know what I mean? Including myself, you know what I mean? I can't wait till the day I don't have to work for somebody else anymore. I could just work for myself. That's gonna be the day where I feel like, you know, that's gonna be the real accomplishment. But you know what I mean? If you haven't done so already, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, I'll see y'all again on the next video. Yeah.